everybody. Now, with this, I could probably make a whole video, but I'm just going to say that in our road to becoming our greatest self, if there's anything more that will defeat us, in that it is cognitive dissonance. Thinking back to a quote by Terence McKenna in which he says, well, he inquires or he wonders why people are so reluctant to explain and talk about their LSD trips. And you know what's happening right now, because I'm getting myself worked up. It's noon and I'm drinking because I really want to get this out to the community at Narrow Soup and to elaborate on the points that I made in Morning Glory parts 1, 2, and 3. I think with LSD, the potential to open yourself up to your own psyche, to the inner workings of your mind, is huge. And same goes with biofeedback, yoga, and spiritual practices alike. But today I'm gonna really do my best to explain a trip that I took about 2 years ago on Psilosiben and LSD. To begin with, in the evening, I took an 1/8 ounce of brown Hawaiian strain, little brown caps of a strain of mushrooms identified as Hawaiian. Now with mushrooms, my experience has been that unlike other consciousness expanding agents like phenethylamines or LSD, that on mushrooms I'm taught life and death, and that at some point I have a conversation with God, which I'm not afraid to say. In the past, when I've taken mushrooms, it's been with a group of people, drinking, and without awareness of the higher nature of spirituality. This occasion was different. Let me take it back a little bit. I had been dropping acid at regular intervals of usually just myself, and really exploring the idea of source consciousness, that source can provide us, has provided us, and will provide us with everything we need, and has gotten us to this point already, and that I could take these chemicals, these neurotransmitter drugs, LSD, DMT, and the likes, and especially psilocybin being an enzyme for the imagination, and reach heightened levels of awareness and expanded consciousness. The following day, following the mushroom experience, I dropped 5 hits of acid and was catapulted into heightened spatial awareness. And it was as if the microcosm became the macrocosm. So, quoting from Tim Leary, science is all metaphor. Immediately I was in a state of sensitive communication with each of my bodily systems and brought into higher spatial awareness in my surroundings. I hope I didn't brush over or just brush past any description of mushrooms, because there's a whole video description of mushrooms in themselves. But I'm going to stick with detailed description of the LSD experience, because up to that point, in the months before that, I've been taking one at a time, but I'm thinking about August 2013, I took 5, and I noticed that it was the most strongest on a car ride, let's say to McDonald's, where my friend who I'd been staying in an apartment with overnight was ordering an iced tea, and I had a flashback. I say flashback, but I don't know quite what it was. I'm considering now the Shulgin scale being +1, +2, +3, +4, and how at that point, looking out the window of the car, I had been at a definite +4. And that's when things, when you hit a +4, that's when things are simultaneously, it seems, at your point where you don't have any control of what's unfolding, while at the same time it feels, whether it's real or not, like if it's actually happening, that every unfolding is at your whim. And what happens next, I can't recall, but there was a group of people at a meeting, and there was a lot of talking, and I didn't have any sense of me anymore, which I'm not altogether unfamiliar with. At one point, when I was 15 or 16, I smoked DMT at the peak of an acid trip, which I already elaborate on in Morning Glory Part 1, 2, and 3 on the NeuroSoup members page. But I kind of gloss over the +4 part of that experience, and I want to touch on that now. Again, I'm in a car. This is 2009, having a +4 experience when I look out the window to my right, and on the side of the vehicle there's another vehicle that doesn't appear to be real, but inside of the experience, things that ordinarily don't exist exist, only it seems more real than real. So like, just in this moment, there's a car with people in it who are bounding around the vehicle that is driving parallel to us, and they're bounding around inside of the car like it's made of trampolines in the floor. And then next, which exists in parallel to this trip that I'm describing and this that I began describing, is when I'm with the two people who I began the trip with in 2009, and we just finished a smoke sesh, and I remained on the patio to call it sleep, but I was so conscious at that point that I didn't sleep, and that I picked up where I left off that evening after my samadhi in 2013, back in 2009. Okay, so where I picked up then was where I stated source consciousness, which is all-encompassing and all-pervasive in every aspect of life. So I hope I summarized that pretty well. A +3 experience would be something that you don't have any control over it unfolding, and that you feel you are a part of entirely, whereas it's one past a +2 experience, being that you have the final say in if you go forward with the experience, and a +1 is just a vague alteration of consciousness. But I do want to say this. There are points in the trip that I'm experiencing now, which is called the now. The here, you might say here, but in the becoming the best version of myself, I've begun to throw away rationality. I don't think we live in a sane society where our trusted leaders are making the best decisions. And that's it. This is the longest video I've ever made, and I hope you enjoyed it, and there will be more to come. Stay tuned.